Hello, and welcome to another episode of A Ghost in the Magazine. I'm Steph,
I'm Jay.
I'm Allie.
and we just want you to come up to the lab and see what's on the slab. Because we're doing Rocky Horror Picture Show.
We see you shiver with anticipation. You ruined it, motherfucker.
That was perfect. It was perfect. Okay, so obviously this week's movie is Rocky Horror Picture Show, starring Tim Curry, the fabulous Tim Curry, formerly Pennywise. Actually, no, he was this first, right? Because this was from the 70s.
Yeah, he a youngin'.
The 70s. He was a little baby.
He was a young man in this film, 1975.
A hot patootie, if you will.
Twink.
Oh my God.
Wait, no, that amount of hair, that man is definitely an otter.
I don't know this terminology.
He's using straight terminology for the gays. It is not gay inclusive.
Well, that explains why my brain is drawing a blank. Thank you, Jay.
I probably don't have to explain to our listeners how much of a cult following this film has, especially in the queer community. I didn't think I had to explain it to my boyfriend, but here we are.
We still like him.
Do you, though? Do you?
Okay, so, I mean, I feel like everybody has seen this movie, but there's no reason why we shouldn't talk about it anyway, especially because it's a good time every time you watch it.
Good time. Every time. If you haven't seen this, I really recommend watching it inebriated. It's not a sober film. Don't look for a plot.
No.
It doesn't matter. Just watch the hot people sing. That's all this movie is about.
That's literally the movie. And by hot people, oh my God, I don't mean Meatloaf. I'm sorry.
Or Riff Raff.
Or
hey, put some respect on my guy Riff Raff's name. He wrote this whole ass show. Richard O'Brien was like the musical genius behind a lot of this.
And he was working that little alien outfit. I'm not gonna lie. Like he had a little balding glow.
He put his whole bussy into that role.
Oh fuck, he did.
Okay, but think about it this way. If that was Lin-Manuel Miranda, you think anybody's putting respect on his name?
I can't believe you put that image in my head. They cannot make Rocky Horror in the 21st century or Lin-Manuel Miranda will be in it, and that will be terrifying.
But they did a remake of it.
Miss Victoria Justice. Yeah.
So I didn't watch it, but the only thing I know about the remake is that
Laverne
Cox is Frankenfurter, and that's all I know.
Yes, ma'am.
But honestly, it wasn't enough to get me to watch it because Tim Curry. Like,
I know he's such a special part of this film. They really did not capture the correct essence for the remake.
Did you watch it?
Yeah, I watched it. It was tolerable. Hollywood has this fun thing of doing like, hey, you guys remember when this was good? And it was very much that. Like, hey, remember when we used to make good films and they were good? Do you remember that? Let's just do it again.
Okay, you know where else they did that, but it was not in musical fashion? With the Carrie remake, when they put Chloe Grace Moretz in it, it was literally the same shit with different actors. Like, if you're going to do a remake, put a fun twist on it, like Pet Sematary. Don't just copy paste.
Or just hire all these young writers that have amazing ideas that but I'm not gonna go into a rant about the film industry. By today's standards, I don't know if anything in this movie that happens is particularly shocking, except maybe the cannibalism. I mean, there's like an on-screen murder, there's a human gets created. Who knows what kids these days are into?
They're watching Euphoria. They're seeing murders. They're seeing sex. It's less shocking.
Exactly. So like by today's standards, it's a lot less wild. But in 1975, when this came out, this was scandalous.
So for me, it's not really about the scandal. I totally get that. It's just a really good time. Like a really good time.
So let's talk about that.
Okay.
But it counts as a horror film. With this podcast where we talk about horror films, it totally counts.
Okay. So here's the horror element. All right.
Yeah, it's in the title, so it's fine.
Okay. Yes. that part, but also a human gets made. It's not in the traditional sense of, like how babies are made, how babies are born. It's
We've come a long way. I'm willing to bet that at least 20% of Americans are born in test tubes now.
yeah, my stepdad lovingly
Rainbow
refers
colored
to us
test tubes.
as I don't know about that one, but I don't know what color scientists use because I'm not a science person.
You're not a STEM girly.
Oh, Professor,
I hate to
hello.
break it to you,
Ooh.
they're probably clear tubes. I think it's
Ugh.
actually a petri dish that you can see through. So
Okay.
it's not even a test tube. Anyways, that's not interesting.
Well, what that means is that if I was a science lady, I would get fired for bedazzling my fucking test tubes.
That'd be brilliant.
All right, I'm going to talk about plot because that's
Listen.
literally the only way we can stay on track.
I'm happy to like do the beginning of this movie plot because I don't remember the end very well.
Okay, you take the beginning and I will muddle through the end.
Yeah. The end gets kind of wild, so I'm like not at all offended if we lose track because that's kind of it feels like the director's lost a little bit of track too.
Yes, bitchin'. That's when the jokes
okay.
started to wear off.
It's exactly the same ending as The Great Gatsby. Someone dies in a pool.
How
Spoilers.
dare you?
Spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen The Great Gatsby recently.
These are so
I'm sorry.
old.
I'm sorry. Did I spoil a 100-year-old book
Yes.
that's in the public domain?
Yeah, and you should be ashamed of yourself. Where are we right now?
Okay, so beginning plot. We meet our two titular characters, Janet Weiss and Brad Majors, both of whom are
White.
white. Yeah, very straight-laced, probably Mormon. They're attending a wedding and they're like, "Oh man, weddings. Do you remember when people get married?" And Brad is like, "Oh shit, yeah, we should probably get married." So they get engaged while
Red
they're like
flag.
setting up for a funeral. And while they're setting up for a funeral behind them, which I always thought was the funniest thing,
It's
they're like
hilarious.
singing about loving each other so much, and they're
Damn
just
it,
fully
Janet.
setting up a dead body.
Also, if I may, Tim Curry is the pastor at the wedding. He's in the photo.
See, this is why I needed to rewatch it. I don't remember that.
He's the pastor, and Magenta and Riff Raff are a nun, I think, and then the guy that just like takes care of the chapel.
Unbelievable. It's like in the labyrinth when at the end Sarah finds out all those people in her dream were her toys.
Spooky. So these two newly engaged, I don't know, they call them something in the film, but I can't be arsed to remember.
They're called people.
Oh, shut the fuck up. Anyways, part of this whole thing is that there's a narrator and he like interacts with the audience, and this is a much more successful franchise in live shows because the narrator actually interacts with the audience and you're meant to like
Ooh.
quote things back at them and like sort of participate, and it's like a really fun thing. I think they translated that well into screen, because that whole intro where like the lady is welcoming you to the theater and everything, and she's singing the plot at you. Does it make sense? No. Does it matter? Not really. But that's why that's in the movie, because they're introducing you to the theater and it's like a whole thing. Anyways,
The science fiction double feature.
yes. So the narrator explains to us that our newlyweds are going to visit the person who introduced them, which happens to be their old science teacher. I guess they both went to the same college.
Nerds.
Yeah.
This is the 50s. I don't know if Susan Sarandon was
The
allowed to go to
50s?
college.
That's what I was thinking. It's 1970 something, so probably, but that's what I was thinking. But they do refer to him as like our teacher, our old teacher, Dr. Everett Scott. They get engaged, and instead of telling their parents or their close friends, they go and visit this old teacher that they haven't seen in like
Fucking weird.
20 years.
It's weird.
On the way in, they get a flat tire, and they're like, "Well, fuck! It's raining, and we have a flat tire. The fuck do we do? Oh yeah, there's an old house back there. Let's just go visit, see if they have a phone." And thus begins our disaster.
Dun, dun, dun.
This is my favorite part of the film. It's similar to like straight-laced people walking into like any queer space nowadays, like just
It's
the juxtaposition between Janet and Brad and like the rest of the people in the house.
And I really love it. like a lot. I remember the first time I watched this movie, I was really caught off guard because I don't know what I was expecting. I think that straight discomfort is hilarious. It just made my whole day.
And there's an excellent line Brad has where he's like, it's just these people's culture. They're just doing a weird little dance. Like, be kind, be respectful.
I'm sorry, that's me watching Midsummer. It's just these people's culture.
And the funny thing is, he's not wrong. They are aliens. This is their culture.
Yeah.
Galians,
So they
if
get
you
to the
will.
castle on the hill, and the master of the house, Mr. Frankenfurter, is hosting some sort of debut ball with all his alien buddies.
it-
Who
I thought it was
all-
an annual thing.
Hold on. Mr. Frankenfurter? He didn't go to evil doctor school to be called Mr. Frankenfurter. Thank you very much.
You're absolutely right.
Dr. Frankenfurter.
Doctor to you.
Yes, sir, it is. Dr. Frankenfurter. Why does this man have a castle on a hill? Why does he have so many guests? Why are all the guests all in the same outfit? We don't need to know. That is the least important part.
But I mean, how else can they do the time warp? Again.
And then they get introduced to the master of the house, and he has this wonderful sweet transvestite from transsexual Transylvania.
Oh my god, it gives me heart palpitations. It's in such a good way. It's so good.
And like, I didn't expect a lot of raw sexual energy to, one, come out of Tim Curry, two, come out of Tim Curry doing an Elizabeth impression, like Queen Elizabeth impression.
Oh my god.
And he makes it so sexy.
It's so good. He is multi-talented. Like, you want to talk about range? Line up Tim Curry's his acting personas.
I had no idea he had the machismo
Uh-huh.
necessary.
Mm-hmm.
So Dr. Frankenfurter is delighted to have
Thank
these
you.
two tasty guests in his house.
Tasty.
I absolutely love how he talks to them because
Yes.
they're so like concerned, and he's like, "Do you have any tattoos?" Like flirting with both of them.
And you know what's so funny is how appalled, like, Brad is, I mean, you know, like, he is who he is, but he's more like go with the flow than she is, which is wild considering where this goes.
Oh, absolutely. And Brad drives a lot of the plot along simply by being agreeable. Like,
Mhm.
once they get into the house, these aliens start stripping them down to their, like, I don't know, their skivvies. And Brad is like, it's fine. We're in their house. This is totally normal and regular to be doing.
Right,
Magenta
because
really said, "Show me your knickers, Brad."
I hate the word
What
knicker.
knickers?
Yeah, it sounds so gross.
Anyway,
Let me see, where was I? He introduces himself to them. And then he's like, oh, you must come see what I'm making. I'm making this incredible thing. You have to join the show. And then he leads everyone down to his very interesting pastel-themed basement lab
Ugh.
sort of situation.
I want one.
but Doctor, pastels?
I'll go to Rainbow
Um,
Medical School if I have to. Okay.
Yeah. And he presents his creation. He has made a man. There is a very lovely, there's two songs actually that accompany this scene that are my absolute favorite. When they're running around and Rocky's singing Sword of Damocles, like that shit's a bop.
110%.
That boy came out of the womb and was belting. 10 out of 10.
Uh-huh. Walking cakes.
So, yes. So Frankenfurter makes himself a twink, basically, if you've not seen this film. He somehow creates a boyfriend. Like, that's literally the plot. It's heavily insinuated that he, like, stole parts of his other boyfriends and made this, like, Build-A-Bear sort of terrifying situation.
Which is admittedly problematic, but he's a doctor.
If you can't make your own store-bought's fine.
It's a ridiculous movie, but in such a wonderful way.
Mm-hmm. So his twink making gets interrupted by his old boyfriend escaping. He was keeping him in the freezer, and he busts out on his motorcycle with the saxophone.
Oh my god. Wait,
Because of course he does.
he came out with the saxophone?
Oh yeah, it's just strapped to him.
How did he not
And
die
then he
in the
rocks
freezer?
maybe my favorite song in this film, which is Hot Patootie.
Oh, patootie.
And him and Columbia literally drive on a motorcycle around the lab for a while until Frankenfurter's like, "You're fucking up my party," and straight up murders, like axe murders him.
Which is admittedly problematic, but
Dr. Frankenfurter, not the most ethical person,
no, but he's a doctor.
but he's hot, so he can do it.
Steph straight up here being like, Jeffrey Dahmer is bad, sure, but I can change him.
Jeffrey Dahmer, no. Doctor Jeffrey Dahmer, maybe.
Once Dr. Frankenfurter gets rid of his previous issue, he has to christen his wedding night to his newly made boyfriend, of
Oh
course.
my god. But that's not.
They literally have like a 2-second wedding and then they disappear. And I guess Janet and Brad are like, "Well, I guess we're staying the night. We never got a phone. So, I
Right.
mean, it's storming. We're not going to drive. We ain't going to leave."
Hell no. But I mean, it's, there's enough space for both of them.
So they like set up for the night. For some reason, they have Janet and Brad sleeping in separate rooms.
No.
And-
No. For very specific reasons, they have them
no.
in separate rooms. Okay.
Did you really skip past Time Warp?
That like happens when they first get to the house and Riff Raff is like, "Welcome," and then it starts from there. There are other like extraneous characters in this film that I didn't explain. Okay, so they're sleeping in separate rooms, and in like a wonderful couple of parallel scenes, Frankenfurter manages to seduce both of them using the same lines
Mm-hmm.
on both of these motherfuckers,
Does
and
anyone
they
remember
fold
them?
like paper.
Because, okay, you can be as straight edge as you want to, but you get a sexy doctor in a sexy sequin outfit, it's done. It's over. It's over for you, hoes.
Also, Magenta and Columbia are watching.
Oh, no, that happens a little later.
No, they watched them getting seduced. In fact,
On the screens, right? Because
Both of them, yeah.
and shit.
Yeah, but they have
And
this
they're like-
lovely little sleepover scene afterwards where Janice is sleeping with Rocky, and they're like, "Tell us about it, Janet."
Because Janet is okay.
Touch me.
That part, all of a sudden she fucking snapped. Was she like jealous that because she finds out right about Brad?
Okay,
Okay.
so Dr. Frankenfurter sleeps with Janet, and Janet is like up and she's pacing with guilt. She can't believe she cheated on her new fiance, and then she wanders past a monitor that I believe Riff Raff or Magenta set up for her.
Of course.
That shows like it literally shows Brad like putting his socks back on.
Oh my gosh. When his feet were up in the air during the deed, I fucking lost it, dude. Like, all right, you get it, Brad.
Frankenfurter was giving his dick CPR. What can I say?
Oh my god,
Dr. Frankenfurter is the goat.
he is a doctor.
So she watches. I actually think Brad might be sitting on the edge of the bed having a cigarette or something, and Frankenfurter is just posed in the bed. Like the way it's set up is just absolutely
Oh,
brilliant.
it's so good.
But and then Janet gets upset because like, "Oh man, I cheated on my husband and he just cheated on me. Fuck." She has her little moment of awakening.
I'm just making noises of discontent because the movie is a really good time, but like, oh my god, it just really bothers me because they're like virgins, you know what I mean? And
Oh, yep.
she did the the same shit that he did, and just fucking snapped and was like, "All right, let me fuck my way through this castle."
Janet was like, "Okay, but I'm gonna be less of a virgin than he is."
Damn it, Janet.
Like Rocky Horror Picture Show was originally a stage musical, but in the like rock opera sort of way. So I highly recommend for our listeners to find the original version of Touch It, Touch It, Touch Me, because it is way better than what Susan Sarandon did in the movie.
Ooh,
God
sorry,
bless her.
sis.
She's a
Sorry.
Did you say
very
about Susan
attractive.
Sarandon?
She is a very attractive woman. I'm not arguing with that. They did her dirty with that song. It's not supposed to sound like that. It sounds a lot better in the stage version.
It's not supposed to sound like that. I'm sorry, Susan.
No, you can't do that to Susan Sarandon.
No, you can't do that to Susan Sarandon.
Okay, onward with the plot. Susan Sarandon, Janice, has her little moment of like, "Damn, I had sex and it was really nice. I think I want to keep having sex." She stumbles upon Rocky, who is fully like, I think, chained up in the bed like being tortured by the other aliens in the house. And she's like, "Oh, this poor baby. I need to heal him." And then they fuck.
It's stressful.
Rocky, can we talk about the fact that Rocky is a version of that like born yesterday sexy sort of trope? Is it Lula in The Fifth Element as well?
That's not her name, is it? I know what you're talking about.
Something like that. But it's exactly the same. Like he was born sexy 5 minutes ago, and suddenly everyone is perving on him.
Yeah, save some hotness for the rest of us is what Jay is trying to say.
Let me look up the first line in the Sword of Damocles, because I'm pretty sure it's like, "My life is a misery." Like, this boy is born and he's singing about how he wants to die.
He got a lot going on.
The Sword of Damocles is hanging over my head, and I've got a feeling someone's gonna be cutting a thread. "Oh, woe is me! My life is a misery."
Oh, that's very emo.
Yeah, so Rocky has it tough, and he is like, he basically got forced married to his creator and then tortured the rest of the night. So Janice is like, "I have boobs, can I help?" And he's like, "Absolutely, you can."
Absolutely.
The unfortunate thing is that Mr. Dr. Frankenfurter catches his ass. Catches both their asses.
I just
And
don't
that's his little, like,
understand.
that's his bride. So he's apparently non-monogamous with everyone except Rocky.
The rules don't make sense. I don't know why everyone is so jealous. They're all doing the same thing.
Yeah, it's very much like dysfunctional polycule with a hierarchy. They haven't done the communication necessary.
I mean, how can they? They're too busy singing.
And then the best scene in the whole thing happens.
Dr. Scott shows up.
Dr. Scott, Janet, Brad, Rocky,
Stephanie.
Stephanie.
I just want to give a handshake to whoever's responsibility it was to put that in the film, because that is one of the best scenes.
And then it ends with Donkey.
Oh,
Okay, so the doctor is there not to see Janet and Brad, because they're like, "Hey, we were coming to see you. How the fuck did you know we were here?" And he's like, "I didn't. I was trying to find my nephew." And they're like, "Oh shit, you have a nephew?" And he's like, "Yeah, his name is Eddie. He's he rides a motorcycle. He's been in the trouble lately. Have you seen him?" And everybody in the house like,
No.
No.
Whereas Frankenfurter is like, "Dinner served."
Oh.
There's a very tense scene where they're like sitting down for dinner, and Frankenfurter is just absolutely stewing with hatred for Janet. Like, Janet gets a lot of flack for the rest of this film, and it is kind of funny to me. So, plot finished real quick. They go to have a meal. Surprise, surprise, the meal is Eddie. I'm not actually sure what happens after that, but I do know they run about, and Dr. Frankenfurter turns everyone into stone. It's revealed they're all aliens, and they have to go home. And Magenta and Riff Raff are working for Dr. Frankenfurter, but Dr. Frankenfurter hasn't been doing his job, so they're like, "Fuck you, boss. You suck. You're staying here, actually." And then he gets a lovely little farewell song, and then they all swim naked in the pool, which was apparently super freezing cold, and everyone got really sick after filming that scene.
That's unfortunate.
And then the house explodes.
But they looked really good in that last
They all
scene.
look amazing. Yeah, I should
Wow.
mention he turns them into statues and then decorates them, which I really wish I could do to every person I meet.
I mean, arts and crafts. I'm literally so tired and just saying random things at this point. I would like to apologize.
I've been doing that this whole time. You don't have to apologize for anything.
Okay, great.
And then Brad and Janet sing a song about how they're changed forever, and then that's the movie. It's done. It's
Okay.
brilliant. It's my favorite film.
This is your favorite film?
It's one of my favorites.
I'm so glad we chose it.
Aww.
Is this the first one Fierro's led?
It is, and I'm very proud right now. I'm a very proud big sister.
Yeah, your boy did it.
Yeah, he did. All right, so yes, this movie is a lot, but it's a really good time. I love the crazy pants transition to it being like a super crazy, I almost said miracle, super crazy musical, and then like really sexy in the middle, and then hot and angry, and then they're aliens. Like, that was something I did not expect at all.
Yeah, which is so funny because I remember watching this for the first time and being like, wait, they were aliens?
Yes.
And my friend went, yeah, they told you in the first song that they were aliens.
I don't recall. I was like, I wasn't there. I don't know. I don't know what you mean.
I was supposed to pay attention to the lyrics? No, thank you.
I don't know how you can be expected to do that.
Not what we usually do whenever we wrap up an episode, but usually I ask y'all, where do you put this on your scale? I'm gonna ask you is, who was your favorite character?
That's easy.
Go on.
For you, it is.
Doctor.
Go on. Doctor.
Doctor. I mean, all I need sometimes in my life is a sweet transvestite.
With some sometimes murderous tendencies.
Sometimes, but I mean, like, we're all a little crazy. I'm a Scorpio moon, you know?
Who's not problematic nowadays?
That's what I'm saying. But he's a doctor.
Scorpio moon. That was so funny.
You know, none of us are
I'll
perfect.
talk about my favorite character. I'm gonna talk so much. You say your favorite character first, because I've been talking so much, so I'm trying to leave room for you to talk, and you ain't talking. I'm talking to Jordan. I'm not talking to Steph
Okay.
first.
I
Okay.
figured. I was just sitting here twiddling my thumbs.
Okay. My favorite character is you know what, probably Meatloaf. Meatloaf purely because he's in it. He steals the show in like 10 seconds. And you see how pissed off Tim Curry is. Not the character, not Frankenfurter. Tim Curry is pissed off that he is getting his thunder stolen.
So I think it's interesting that you didn't say that Meatloaf is your favorite character because he got eaten and his name is Meatloaf.
Oh my god.
Hot Patootie is one of my favorite songs. I think it's a hard tie between Columbia and Magenta. Magenta gets points docked off for the
Magenta.
weird, like Magenta has sort of a little bit of some incestuous tendencies, which gets her a couple
Yes.
points docked off with her weird little alien shit with Riff Raff. Columbia, however, is literally just doing hot girl shit. She is like the chaotic theater kid that I was. She just shows up in sparkles and a top hat and it's like, you guys remember my boyfriend? I love her.
I do love her a lot, like a lot.
And oh damn, it's so hard to say a favorite scene because I just love this whole movie so much. But when Magenta and Columbia are watching are perving on Janet and Rocky, and they've got this whole sleepover thing going on. They're like doing each other's hair, doing
Hell
each other's
yeah.
nails. That is just the cutest shit.
My favorite scene is literally Frankenfurter seducing Brad. It's my favorite thing, and I've actually rewinded it to watch it again, and I'm not ashamed.
Noted for the future. Memorize those lines.
Oh man.
Sister. How many times do I have to say this? Your sister.
Sorry, Jay. I'm
Alright.
sorry.
It's great. I can't remember. I'm just gonna start talking about how much I love this movie again.
Wrap it up. Do it.
I've said my piece. Like if I start, I'm just gonna start into a ramble that's like way too long. So y'all don't need to let me talk anymore.
Oh, okay, bitchin'. Well, yeah, it's a really good movie. It has a really good, a really cool poster. Have you guys seen the theatrical release poster? It's neat. I would love to put that on my wall.
Was it
It's got lots
was it
of
just
legs.
the lips?
No,
Oh.
it actually
Legs.
has a black and white picture of all of them together, and then underneath it, a bunch of legs, and then the Rocky Horror Picture Show in bloody font. It's good.
Ladies out there, if you identify as a pansexual mad scientist, hit Steph up.
My
Slide in them
DMs
slide
are
in them
open.
DMs.
Yes, please. Anyways, you can follow this podcast on Twitter at GITM Podcast. You can follow me on Twitter at WitchXPudding.
You can follow me at Atlas_Snow.
You can follow me at IzzyEXE.
Okay, bye.